Okay, welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus course CPI. My name is Lee Goldstein, the Trading Director at 10-Minute Trades. Please remember, I am not a financial advisor. It is possible to lose money trading futures, so please trade carefully. And let's get started this morning. I pulled up all the news so you can see what the news is. All right, let me turn off my double set of sound here. So, course CPI. This is a big report. It's absolutely expected that the news is going to be certainly as expected or slightly better. If there is higher numbers, then we're definitely going to have not a great reaction to that. So I think it's absolutely unequivocally expected that these inflation numbers are going to be good. And what does good mean? It means that if they're expecting year over year to be 3% or 3.2%, that it'll be 3.0 or 3.2 or 3.1 and 2.9. So we do not recommend the NQ at this point in time. So sometimes the weekly schedule is not as well caught up as the DMM because our final testing, so everybody understands why sometimes there can be changes. Final testing, unfortunately, is done after the schedule is made up. So it just is the way it is. We have to do our testing as late as possible, but the schedule has to be sent out and prepared. So sometimes the schedule might say NQ and it might wind up being the YM, but it's the DMM ultimately that is the final say on what we're going to trade. So, and if you look back, I'll make sure that gets fixed. We haven't traded the NQ, and it's my fault. I mean, really, I'm the one that does that schedule. And I was just thinking about another report, to be honest, where we were doing the NQ. But NQ on many of these reports is very, very high slippage, lots of whipping. It's not our favorite instrument for these types of reports. So a couple of things to keep in mind for everyone. I want to say hello to people on YouTube that are watching us. Thank you for joining. But even more importantly, this is again another high risk report. So you have to decide, does it fit, in the profile of what you want to do and whether you're interested in trading it. It's definitely one of the most, also, it's been one of the most inconsistent reports to trade. If I showed 12 videos, there's probably 8 different ways that we've traded it. We have tried so many different setups on this report, and it's because it definitely responds differently often. Um, it's in many ways it has not been a trap trade. PPI has been a clear trap trade. CPI is not. It's a breakout, but it's definitely margins are raised by the brokers, and that brings the risk way up because of that. It means volatility is expected to be higher, and it probably will be. I mean, if we look back at our videos, if I go back 2 months into June, let's take a look at June's video of what happened in the trade room. So in June, we had bonds and YM. And if we go to the time of the trade, I had bonds in the middle, YM on the left, and no fill for me on YM. Okay, no fill. Great move. And members that traded and got filled had very nice profits on the YM. It was a very good move. and it was a tradable move. Then if we go to July last month, we also had YM and ZN. YM on the left, ZN on the right. And interestingly, I again had no fill in any account. I didn't get filled in my prop account, which is pretty rare. And I didn't get filled in our live trading account. Again, YM. It looked like a real nice move. If I remember correctly, members got filled and made money on the YM. And let me just triple check something. So for our trading, I'm not saying if you got filled on the YM, then I would not really worry that the YM is not the right setup for you. For us, we've had a couple of setups that just haven't filled, so I might just trade bonds. You know, that it's really just a question of what's that Einstein saying? You know, if you do the same thing over and over and expecting the same result, and it gives you a different result, you know what I mean? But that's the definition of insanity or something like that. So for us, it's not that we don't like the YM setup because the YM setup has been very good. It's that the fills for us haven't been good. All right. So I'm going to trade bonds, but I'm not trying to talk anyone out of the YM setup. But I am telling everybody, you know, if you're going to trade this report is ultra risk. That's the reality. It's ultra risk. Now, here's the most interesting thing out of the whole situation. So, you know, I do a lot of thinking, a lot of testing, and I decided just for the heck of it to take a look at gold. We haven't traded gold on this report in quite a while. So I looked at the last three gold moves using replay. And the gold setup that I found, let me get past. First, I just double checked my YM settings just to see maybe I did something wrong or my setup was too aggressive. But then I went over to gold, came up with a setup on gold. And gold has had quite a few very good trades over the past three reports. In July, let me start it from the beginning. It's fast, so you're always subject to liquidity problems with gold. But what I was looking for was very difficult whipsaws. That's what I was looking to see if there were a lot of whipsaws with gold. Over the past months, that's what my testing was really curious about. And what I saw, as you can see it for yourself, very fast moves, pretty, you know, standard fast. And then essentially it did tend to follow through pretty well. And then in May, so I would put the risk of trading gold probably at the highest of the high level, just because this is a report where trading gold is difficult. It can be difficult, but the testing over the past 3 months looked very promising. Promising enough that maybe we would pull it out of the mothballs and just look at the testing again. So I thought it was interesting. I was actually thinking of maybe trading one contract of gold in my Buell Knox account. So let's go over the bond part of the report. So I would recommend if you're going to trade, because of the inherent risk in this report, I would go with ZF because ZF, it has good liquidity and it's the most reasonable instrument to trade based on the price. You know, you're not dealing with more than you're under $10 a tick. All right. So I have a setup for ZN and ZF. All right. Let me just get my notes so I make sure I give everyone the exact setup that I want to. All right. So with ZF, it is a breakout and we would trigger at 829.58. And the bracket is 12. And then our targets, I would use at least, one position, two positions is what I would normally use. My first target would be 10 ticks. My second target would be anywhere between 10 and 40 ticks. And my stop would be 20 ticks on ZF. And if it hit my first target, I would go to break even -4 using the target one stop mode. Okay, that's what I would do on ZF. ZN, the only difference really is a little bit smaller stop. You can go with a 12 stop on ZN if you want to trade ZN. ZF is a little bit less expensive to trade. 829.58. Let me save the template. I probably already did, so let me just see if it's there. No, so let me save it. CPI ZF. Today's date is the 14th. And then I'm going to look at the width of my brackets for trade management. Everything on sim when you do your looking at the width. And there is where I would put it again. Like yesterday, we're in a tight, quiet range. The markets are definitely waiting for this news. So there hasn't been tremendous volatility at the moment. I could see a lot of orders in the ask and bid that are passing through. So there's definitely activity out there. So ZF is the way that I'm going to trade. I'm going to be conservative on this report because just like everybody else, I know that there's risk, okay? And I don't like throwing money away. The best of the best reports are the reports that continually work the best. CPI has been inconsistent for most people. It's been inconsistent for most people over a year. All right. The YM setup is relatively new. Okay. It is relatively new. So if you're going to trade the YM setup has a bracket of 30 The stop is 45, and targets can be anywhere between 20 and 80. They can really be 20 and 100, anywhere between 20 and 100 on the YM. So bracket of 30, the trigger is 829.58. Targets anywhere between 20 and 100, and the stop is 45. And it's always up to you if you want to use, if you like to protect your account, your first profit, if you hit your first target by using the target one stop move or not. That's always a very personal decision if you want to do that. Now, what I want to do is watch gold. I'm not ready to trade gold live because, look, the testing showed very fast moves. Certainly, there's no way to know in testing. The best first test with anything is how did it do on live market data? If you're not 100% sure of a setup, in other words, you need a perfect response for gold to work on this report. You need the kind of move that is usually a breakout for everyone. Okay? That's the kind of response when gold does its best. So there's no reason not to test it. So that's what I'll do. I'll test it. 829.59 would be my trigger on gold because, I want to build up our Buellnox account. Right now it's at a profit. We started out nicely at the beginning of the billing period. We had struggled last month on the account. Probably traded too many risky trades in it. The bracket on gold is 40. Hold on, hold on, hold on. The bracket is 50 on gold. And GC is 1224. The bracket is 50. And then testing, I'll do two targets. And the targets can be anywhere between 20 and again and 100 ticks. And the stop is 30. So, you're risking minimum $300 a contract on gold. If you are the kind of person that loves risk and don't mind taking the risk in whatever account you're trading in, you could certainly trade it with one contract. Let's say you go for a 40 tick target, for instance. You could use the feature if the market moves X ticks, and you could put that at 30 and then move the stop to break even if it moves 20, break even plus 20. That would not be unreasonable if you wanted to trade one gold position. So for my trade, I'm interested in when I'm testing, I'm just going to test two contracts, going for a good target, 30 and 79. The stop is 30. The trigger is 829.59. The bracket is 50. If I were trading live real money, I would use the break even because of the propensity to be choppy. It can pull back, and I would probably just move it to break even because the first target is 30. So if it hits the 30 tick target, moving the stop to break even is pretty far away from what would be your current price. And then of course we label it, save the template, CPI GC, today's date. And then the usual of the usuals, we look at our width of our brackets by setting the time to 0, making sure the charts are on sim, right? And they match. Everything is. Don't forget the gold market opens at 820, so you will see sometimes extra volatility on gold. One thing I don't like is gold is bursting right to the high of the day. Nothing I can do about it. The only thing I would say that worries me less today is even gold is in a fairly tight range this morning. It did make, it is making all-time highs again, but it's pulled back a little bit from that. So the brackets look good. Like I said, I'm just testing gold, trading ZF in our regular cash account. If you had stayed up with us last night and traded New Zealand, the rate statement, then you would have had a winning trade with us. New Zealand's rate statement had a very nice move. Before I show it to you, everybody, please check your time sync, all right, by going to the website, time.is. You want to be in sync. So check your time sync. When you go there, it does test your sync. Um, Traded British was it? There was their CPI report. The British reports have not been trading well. That's the honest truth. They have not been trading well. Now, I looked at yesterday's British report. It seemed to trade better, but I definitely do not get up in the middle of the night to trade British reports. They're not good enough. New Zealand, on the other hand, we've been following their rate statement, trading it, just started getting serious about wanting to trade it. The New Zealand dollar has changed in the sense that the liquidity and volume has improved over the years, where it was completely untradeable years ago. Now it's tradable, understanding that one of the big risks with New Zealand is liquidity. That's something you're always concerned with if you can get good fills. And last night it was a monster move. And of course, when there's a monster move like that, there's almost always slippage, but the move is so big that the slippage is overcome. It was a 100 tick move. We got filled 50 ticks in, hit our targets, and had a fantastic trade. And the reason it was such a big move is they had a surprise rate cut. I'm going to trade ZF, Chris, but they're interchangeable. I don't think there's anything wrong with trading ZN. It's a little higher risk. It's a little bit more expensive per tick. But again, this is a high potential volatility report, and we're just like everybody else. We like to preserve our profits. We like to make money. And I like to do what I recommend everybody else does. Now, I'm not against the YM, so don't forget, everybody, the YM has been a winning setup for the past 2 months for most traders. So keep in mind that our YM setup is perfectly fine. We just didn't get filled, so I'm going to go to bonds where the liquidity is much better and look at the gold setup. Maybe going forward, gold could be a great setup. Bracket of 30 on YM, triggering at 829.58. Targets anywhere between 20 and 100. I would definitely not be greedy on my targets on a report like this because you could get a difficult fill. And if you're too greedy, you might not get out of the trade with profit if it changes direction. And the stop is 45. So on these types of reports, I try not to be too greedy. Yeah, and I have to change my chart. So thanks for waking me up. If I had traded ZN with the same setup, it wouldn't have mattered. The only difference is the stop. It would have been a bigger, slightly bigger stop. Essentially, my setup is the same, except for the stop. So what I'll do is I'll check my brackets though, again, by setting my time to 0. And thanks for that, Chris. I definitely love it when people in the room correct me because I make mistakes. There's so much going on. Okay, we've got good brackets to manage the trade. I'm not even going to watch gold. I'm just going to we'll leave gold for the video. Just going to manage the ZF. Not going to take, not considering an after news trade initially. So let's see what happens. 829.58 is our trigger, our charts on the right account. Okay, so it would be surprising, like I said, it would be surprising if inflation is higher. If, I mean, look, we talk about this in every trade room that we have an inflation report. It's all smoke and mirrors anyway, isn't it? Smoke and mirrors. Anybody that lives in the world knows inflation has not come down. All that's come down is the continuing rising of prices. Has it gotten cheaper to buy food at the market? Has it gotten cheaper to buy a house? Has our energy costs come down? The cost of gas, maybe certainly the cost of gasoline, it's not as high as it was at the beginning of the inflation crisis. It's come down a little bit, only due to immense pressure. But overall, if you're a normal person, inflation is a problem. Yes, it's good that they're trying to slow the rising of prices, but we all know the truth because we live in the everyday world. Most of us are not billionaires and millionaires driving around in limos, completely insulated from normal life. I mean, these people don't even know how to shop in supermarkets. So let's be honest. For the bulk of us, inflation has never come down. And it's a worldwide problem. It's not a right versus left, no matter what you think. If you read and have critical thinking, you'll understand what's going on, the pandemic, everything, wars, not here to fight about politics. There's inflation all over the world. And the end result of it is that who suffers? Regular people, regular, normal people. We all have to deal with it. So it would be nice to go into the supermarket and have a smaller bill. Personally, I don't go in the supermarket. Instacart. Let's talk about, you want to go on a rant? Let's talk about Instacart and the way they raised the prices 25% and then they charge delivery fees. That's waiting for a lawsuit, I'll tell you. Class action lawsuit. 1 minute to go. Let's watch. Let's watch. So you all report to me what happens on the YM. We're looking at gold this morning, trading VF or ZN, looking for liquidity. Definitely would expect the news to be good. That's the one expectation, but I wouldn't trade on it. I wouldn't make a trading decision based on what I expect the news to be. Okay, so look, a very, very calm bond event. Very calm bond event. Very calm YM event. Maybe because the news was almost exactly as expected. Almost exactly as expected. Gold hit target one barely and pulled back. You all have to tell me what happened on the YM. On bonds, we had a profit, hit our first target, and then it pulled back. We were able to get a little bit more than target one. So a profitable trade. MYM, now MYM is not the YM. It's not the same setup. So be very curious. Let's get our reports. MYM bill did not work. How about other folks on YM? Report in when you get time. Now, bonds are moving down. Gold is moving down. That would lead me to think. So I'm turning off my trades, putting on MGC 1224 on my gold chart, looking at gold, setting up a very quick reversal strategy on micro gold, one position, 30 tick target, 30 tick stop in my Buell Knox account. I'm doing it as fast as I can here. Putting my charts on Buell Knox. Just watching. I think that maybe gold is going to test the low. Possible. Possible. It's possible. Not jumping into anything at the moment, just watching. Sanders, so YM did not work. YM did not work. Was it a bracket issue or was it a whipsaw? Bracket or whipsaw? And what I could do is run a replay on YM. I want to thank everybody. I really believe gold's going to test that low. I'm going to take a shot in my Buell Knox account with the high above the PP, with the stop above the PP and the 6 p.m. open, and just go for a small halfway to the low. If it doesn't work, I'll lose a few dollars. It's not gigantic. It's not gigantic. Going to keep it tight. Going to keep it tight because it's not moving the way I would expect. Okay, it's starting to move. Expand my target. Go into a stop into safety. It's going to take me out flat. All right, took me out flat. I might try it again. I might try it again. Going to keep an eye on it. So the YM had a whipsaw. Now, Mauricio, I don't know why you lost money on ZF. Um, it didn't whip. It hit it moved rather slowly, it looked like. So I'll show you the video. Did you use a similar setup to what we used? Did you use a similar setup to what we used? Well, still watching that gold. Going to move over to YM. just to look the risk. Oh, an awful, awful candle. I mean, you can't get a worse trading candle. I'm going to download the data and see if there's anything I could have told anyone. Um, Bear with me, folks. Let me download this data. I do want to thank everybody on YouTube. Everybody, thank you very much for watching us on YouTube. We have to close down the stream, and we will stream one more time this week. So I want to thank you for watching, and keep an eye on your email for the next time we're going to stream on YouTube. So thank you very much for joining with us, and we'll see you the next time.